Cricket is a sport that is loved and cherished by millions of people around the world. While it is considered a relatively safe sport, there have been instances where players have suffered fatal injuries while playing the game. In this report, we will take a more in-depth look at some of the cricketers who have lost their lives on the field. Selsey was an English cricketer who played for Yorkshire and England in 1950s. He was a talented all-rounder, known for his ability to bat, bowl and field. However, his life was cut tragically short during a match in 1989. Struck was playing for MCC Marylebone Cricket Club against Cambridge University at Fenner's in Cambridge. During the match, he collapsed on the field while batting, and despite the efforts of medical team, he was pronounced dead on arrival at the hospital. The cause of Struck's death was later determined to be a heart attack. He was only 51 years old at the time of his death. Struck's death was a shock for the cricketing world, as he was known to be fit and healthy. He had retired from professional cricket over 50 years earlier and had been working as a teacher in Yorkshire. However, it is believed that his love for the game never waned, and he continued to play cricket in local leagues. Raman Lamba was an Indian cricketer who played for the Indian national team and several domestic teams. Lamba died while playing a club match in Bangladesh in 1998. He was fielding at short leg when he was struck on the head by a ball. Despite wearing a helmet, the ball hit an unprotected part of his head and he slipped into a coma. Lamba was rushed to the hospital, but he passed away 3 days later. Following Lamba's death, there was a renewed focus on player safety, and the use of protective gears like helmets was made mandatory in all levels of the game. Hughes was an Australian cricketer who was considered to be one of the most promising young talents in the game. Hughes died in 2014 after being hit on the neck by a bouncer during a Sheffield Shield match. The ball struck an unprotected part of his neck. He collapsed on the field. Despite undergoing surgeries, Hughes passed away 2 days later. In the wake of Hughes' death, there was a renewed focus on player safety, and several new safety measures were introduced, including the mandatory use of helmets and the use of concussion substitute in case of head injuries. Abdulaziz was a Pakistani wicketkeeper who played several domestic matches in Pakistan. Aziz died while playing a first-class match in 1959. He was standing up to the stump when he was struck in the chest by a ball. Although he initially appeared to be fine, he collapsed on the field a few moments later and passed away shortly after being taken to the hospital. At the time of Aziz's death, safety measures in cricket were not as stringent as they are today, and the use of protective gears like helmets was not mandatory. Foley was an English cricketer who played for Derbyshire and Lancashire in 1980s. Foley died in 1993 after being struck on head by a ball during a game. Foley was fielding at short leg when the ball hit him on the head, causing a skull fracture. Despite bearing surgery, Foley passed away a few days later. Foley was a talented cricketer who played over 100 first-class matches, taking over 200 wickets. His death led to a renewed focus on player safety, and several new safety measures were introduced, including the use of helmets by fielders in close positions. The deaths of these cricketers were tragic reminders of the risk associated with playing cricket. However, their legacies live on, and their contribution to the sport will never be forgotten. Today, cricket is a safe sport, but tragedies can happen.